You don't lack willpower. Your brain is being actively, intentionally, and ruthlessly hacked. Every time you drive past those glowing golden arches or smell the deep fryer from a block away, you are not engaging in a fair fight. We live in a society that constantly tells us that eating fast food is a moral failure, a lack of discipline, or just plain laziness. But what if I told you that the game was rigged before you even took your first bite? What if I told you that some of the smartest scientists, chemists, and psychologists in the world go to work every single day with one singular goal: to make sure you cannot stop eating? To understand why fast food is so incredibly addictive, we have to travel back in time. We have to look at the human brain. Your brain is an ancient survival machine. For millions of years, our ancestors wandered the earth in a constant state of near starvation. Calories were incredibly hard to find. If a hunter-gatherer stumbled upon a food source that was rich in fat, sugar, or salt, their brain would light up like a fireworks display. The brain would flood the body with dopamine, the pleasure and reward chemical, screaming, "Eat as much of this as you possibly can right now, because we might not eat again for a week." Fat meant stored energy. Sugar meant quick energy. Salt meant cellular function and hydration. These three things were the holy trinity of survival. Fast forward to today. You are sitting in your car in a drive-through lane. You are not starving. You probably ate a few hours ago. But your ancient primal brain does not know that. It doesn't understand that there is a grocery store on every corner. When you take a bite of a double cheeseburger, your brain still reacts as if you just found the greatest, rarest calorie jackpot on the savannah. The fast food industry knows this. They understand your evolutionary biology better than you do, and they have weaponized it against you. Let's talk about the science of the Bliss Point. This isn't just a catchy marketing term, it is a mathematically calculated metric. Decades ago, a legendary food scientist named Howard Moskowitz discovered that if you add sugar to a product, people like it more. But if you add too much sugar, it becomes overwhelmingly sweet and people reject it. There is a precise optimal level of sweetness where pleasure peaks before dropping off. That peak is the bliss point. But fast food companies don't just optimize for sugar. They optimize for the unholy alliance of sugar, fat, and salt. Think about a standard fast food meal: a burger, fries, and a soda. The burger bun isn't just bread, it is loaded with sugar. The patty is infused with fat and heavily salted. The ketchup is practically a sugar syrup. The fries are deep fried in highly palatable vegetable oils and coated in a specific ultra-fine grade of salt that dissolves immediately on your tongue for a maximum neurological hit. Then you wash it down with 30 to 40 grams of liquid sugar. When you consume these three elements together in these precise laboratory-tested ratios, your brain's reward center is stimulated to a degree that never ever occurs in nature. An apple has sugar but no fat or salt. A piece of meat has fat but no sugar. Fast food combines all three in a way that chemically overrides your brain's natural stop signals. You aren't just eating, you are consuming a highly engineered narcotic experience. Have you ever wondered why you can eat a massive fast food meal and still feel like you could eat more, but if you eat a large steak and a baked potato at home, you feel completely stuffed? This brings us to a terrifying concept called vanishing caloric density. This is a technique where food is designed to literally melt in your mouth. Think about a cheese puff, a cotton candy, or the incredibly soft bun of a fast food burger. When a food melts down to nothing almost instantly, your brain gets deeply confused. The sensory receptors in your mouth tell your brain, "Wow, this tastes amazing." But the stomach receptors, which measure volume, tell the brain, "Wait, there's nothing here, it vanished." Because the food breaks down so rapidly, your brain is tricked into thinking you aren't actually consuming any calories. So, the dopamine keeps flowing and the hunger signals are never shut off. You are eating thousands of calories, but your neurological system is telling you to keep going. But it's not just about how the food melts, it's about the entire physical experience of eating. The industry calls this dynamic contrast. Human beings get bored easily, and that includes our mouths. If you eat a bowl of plain oatmeal, you get tired of it quickly because the texture is exactly the same in every single bite. Fast food is engineered to constantly surprise and excite the mouth. Think about the perfect French fry. It has a crispy, hard, salty exterior that crunches loudly in your ears, but the inside is a soft, steaming, smooth potato mash. Think about a crispy chicken sandwich. You have the soft, sweet bun, the crisp, jagged edge of the fried breading, the juicy, tender meat, and the creamy, rich sauce. Every bite is a symphony of contrasting textures. This dynamic contrast prevents sensory boredom. It keeps the eating experience novel, exciting, and hyper-stimulating, which directly translates to you eating faster and eating more. And let's talk about the speed. It's called fast food for a reason, but the speed isn't just about the drive-through window, it's about the chew. A massive amount of research goes into reducing the amount of time it takes to chew a fast food burger. If a food requires a lot of chewing, like a raw carrot or a tough piece of meat, you naturally slow down. Your stomach has time to communicate with your brain and say, "Hey, I'm getting full." Fast food is systematically softened, ground, and chemically treated so you barely have to chew it. You inhale it. You can consume 1,000 calories in less than 5 minutes. By the time your stomach realizes what just happened and tries to send the fullness signal to your brain, you are already wiping your mouth and throwing the wrapper away. The chemical communication in your body simply cannot keep up with the physical speed of consumption. But the addiction doesn't start when the food hits your tongue. It starts long before that. It starts in the mind. Let's talk about cue reactivity. The fast food industry spends billions of dollars every year to hijack your visual and auditory environment. Why are almost all major fast food logos red and yellow? It's not an accident. Color psychology dictates that red triggers stimulation, appetite, and urgency. It raises your heart rate. Yellow triggers feelings of happiness, friendliness, and comfort. When you combine them, you create a powerful subconscious trigger that screams, "Be happy and eat quickly." Over time, your brain creates a classical conditioning loop, just like Pavlov's dogs. You see the glowing sign, you hear the catchy jingle, or you catch a faint whiff of the exhaust from the fry vat, and your brain immediately starts releasing dopamine. You haven't even tasted the food yet, but you are already experiencing the chemical high of anticipation. In fact, neuroscientists have found that the dopamine spike from anticipating the fast food is often higher than the spike from actually eating it. This is why the craving feels so overpowering, but the aftermath often leaves you feeling hollow, lethargic, and guilty. Your brain promised you an emotional salvation that the food simply cannot deliver. And we cannot ignore the emotional and psychological engineering at play here. Fast food companies don't sell you burgers, they sell you comfort. They sell you childhood nostalgia. They sell you convenience in a stressful world. Think about how many of our earliest, happiest childhood memories are tied to a happy meal with a plastic toy, or a post-soccer game pizza party, or an ice cream cone after a good report card. Fast food is inextricably linked to reward, celebration, and safety. Now look at our modern lives. We are stressed, overworked, underslept, and constantly anxious. When you have had a terrible day at work, when you are exhausted, when your cortisol levels are through the roof, your brain desperately seeks a coping mechanism. It wants relief, and it wants it right now. Fast food is the ultimate frictionless coping mechanism. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you don't even have to get out of your car. For $5, you can purchase an immediate, guaranteed chemical change in your brain. You are buying a temporary anesthesia wrapped in foil. The sugar and fat trigger a release of serotonin and endorphins that literally numb emotional pain. In that brief window of time while you are eating those fries, the stress of the world fades away. But what happens next? What happens 20 minutes later? The blood sugar crashes. The insulin spikes. The heavy, greasy food sits in your gut, draining your energy as your body struggles to digest the highly processed synthetic ingredients. The dopamine drops off a cliff. And with that physical crash comes the emotional crash. The guilt sets in. The shame sets in. You ask yourself, why did I do that again? Why can't I just eat healthy? Because it's not about willpower. I need you to truly internalize that. You are a biological organism trying to navigate an environment that has been artificially engineered to exploit your most primal instincts. It is an unfair fight. It is you against thousands of scientists, flavor chemists, and marketing executives who have spent the last 50 years perfecting the art of addiction. They know exactly how much salt will make your mouth water. They know exactly how much sugar will light up your dopamine receptors. They know exactly what color will catch your eye on the highway. So, what do? How do we fight back against an industry that has essentially hacked our biology? The first step is awareness. The simple act of understanding why you crave these foods takes away some of their power. When you feel that intense, urgent craving for a burger, take a step back and recognize it for what it is. It's not a moral failing, it's a chemical reaction. It's a manufactured desire. The next time you find yourself staring at a drive-thru menu, I want you to remember the Bliss Point. I want you to remember Vanishing Caloric Density. I want you to look at those red and yellow logos and see them not as an invitation, but as the psychological traps they truly are. The food industry wants you to feel weak, because a consumer who feels weak and guilty is a consumer who will always come back for more comfort. But you are not weak. You are just fighting a multi-billion-dollar machine. Take back your power. Start by eating whole foods, foods that have single ingredients, foods that force you to chew, foods that actually tell your brain when you are full. It won't be easy at first. Your palate has been hijacked by extreme flavors, and real food might taste boring for a little while. But slowly, your brain will recalibrate. The extreme cravings will fade. You will begin to taste the natural sweetness in an apple, the rich flavor of real meat, the subtle crunch of fresh vegetables. You will break the cycle. You can reprogram the machine. The drive-thru will always be there, flashing its lights, begging for your attention. But now, you know their secrets, and you don't have to play their game anymore.